Welcome to This Explainer. So let me paint a picture here, and I'm willing to bet it's one a lot of us are pretty intimately familiar with. It's Tuesday morning. You just woke up. And honestly, before your feet even hit the floor, you're opening up your banking app. You don't really want to, but your hand just kind of moves on autopilot, right? Sound familiar? And boom, there it is. The number staring back at you is lower than you expected. Again. You start scrolling back, playing detective, trying to find the culprit. Was it that fancy coffee, that late-night Amazon order you barely remember? The math just doesn't seem to add up, but the result is always that familiar, low-grade dread settling in your stomach. Yep, the next 2 weeks are going to be tight.
Now, I want you to picture someone living right down the street from you, 2 doors down. They have the exact same income, the exact same job description. Heck, maybe they even drive a slightly older car than you do. They wake up on that very same Tuesday morning, check their accounts, and their experience is completely, totally different. They aren't panicking. And here's the kicker. It's not because they earn more money and they definitely didn't get lucky with some massive windfall. The gap between these two mornings isn't about intelligence. And it's not even really about discipline. It is simply about having a process. Sometime in the last 6 months, they just took an afternoon to sit down, figure out their real numbers, spot the leaks, and build a 30-day plan. All right, let's dive right into this roadmap. Today, we're breaking down a step-by-step financial reset framework that will absolutely cure that morning dread. We'll kick things off by exploring the income perception gap. Then, we'll move through taking a baseline snapshot, auditing your money flow, completely resetting your priorities, and putting together a rock-solid action plan. Finally, we'll cap it off by preparing you for those sneaky future financial traps. Ready? Let's get into it. Part 1, the income perception gap. Let's talk about income versus reality. We have to start by tackling the absolute root of the problem, which is this really dangerous gap between what we assume our financial reality is and what the cold hard math actually dictates. We all love that comfortable vagueness. It feels safe in the short term, you know? But trust me, it's exactly what keeps us stuck on the hamster wheel. Get this, 40% of individuals earning over $500,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. Wait, what? No way, right? But it's true. And it totally shatters this massive myth we all buy into that just making more money magically solves everything. It doesn't. Financial stress isn't just a byproduct of how much you earn. It's really about whether your money has a clear structure or if it's just running around unsupervised. Because unsupervised money, it produces chaos at absolutely every single income level. That brings us to step 1, the financial snapshot. It is time to find your true baseline. This is a super quick 15-minute diagnostic phase designed specifically to strip away all that dangerous vagueness. You just need 3 things: your take-home income, your fixed bills, and your minimum debt payments. Let's break this down with some realistic numbers to see how wild this gets. Imagine your take-home income is $3,200 a month. In your head, you feel like you have $3,000 to work with. But let's do the math. When you subtract your fixed bills, your baseline groceries and gas, and those minimum debt payments, your absolutely required outflow is actually $2,655. Poof! That assumed $3,200 paycheck shrinks down to just $545 of actual flexible money for the whole 30 days. Think about that. That's roughly $18 a day before something has to give. The trap is that most people operate on the illusion of that big top number. They make one too many weekend choices based on that illusion, and bam, they end up carrying a credit card balance. Which leads us perfectly into step 2, the money flow audit. It's time to identify the hidden leaks. Once you have your actual baseline and you know exactly how much flex money you really have, you need to go back and look at 30 to 60 days of your transactions. We need to expose exactly where that precious flexible money is quietly dripping away. Subscriptions are literally the perfect example of this hidden danger. Based on recent data from 2026, the average American thinks, they perceive that they spend about $86 a month on subscriptions, but the actual real-world total, $219. That is a massive $133 monthly perception gap just in subscriptions. We're talking about the gym membership from 3 zip codes away, those free trials you totally forgot to cancel, the 5 overlapping streaming services. Death by 1,000 cuts is still death, folks. Your bank account doesn't care what you thought you spent. It only knows the total. So how do we fix these leaks without completely shaming ourselves? Because let's be real, shame just makes you avoid your bank account even harder. The trick is to assign every single transaction one of 4 actionable tags: keep, reduce, cancel, or investigate. See, a category just tells you what happened, but a decision tag tells you what's actually going to change. And hey, you don't need to eliminate all joy from your life. You're just cutting the spending that only exists out of stress, boredom, or pure habit. All right, step 3, priority reset.
Let's sequence the chaos. Now that you've plugged the leaks, this step tells you, with zero ambiguity, exactly where your next dollar should go. This is how you finally step off that endless financial treadmill. We use a very specific 4-tier hierarchy here, and it acts as your ultimate defense system. Number 1, essentials first. This is food, shelter, keeping the lights on, staying alive. Number 2, minimum obligations second. You gotta stop those late fees and penalties from compounding and making things worse. Number 3, short-term stability. This is your emergency fund, full stop. And finally, number 4, extra progress. This is the fun stuff, like aggressive debt payoff or investing for the future. The golden rule: you absolutely must ensure survival and stability are locked in long before you attempt wealth building.
Now, if you're sitting there feeling behind, please remember this structural data point. 59% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency expense without the heavy anvil of debt dropping right on their heads. That is wild. And it's exactly why that short-term stability step, building up a quick $500 or $1,000 buffer, is completely non-negotiable. Fragility is what keeps people stuck in the cycle. We have to break that fragility first.
Let's actually look at how this priority sequence acts as your umbrella in real life. Say you followed the audit and freed up $400 a month. Awesome. Option A is sending all $400 straight to your debt, leaving zero for savings. Option B is splitting it down the middle, $200 to savings, $200 to debt. Option B is vastly, vastly superior when you're just starting out. Why? Because it prevents the next flat tire or unexpected medical copay from completely ruining your progress and sending you crawling right back to the credit card. Stability first, then acceleration. Next up, step 4, the action plan. 30 days to absolute clarity. We all know information without action is basically just really expensive entertainment, right? So let's map everything we've talked about onto a practical execution framework. By following this straightforward weekly timeline, you can completely reconstruct your financial foundation from the ground up. Week 1 is diagnosis. That's running your snapshot and doing the audit. Week 2 is identification and sequencing, targeting those top leaks and setting your priority orders using the tags. Week 3 is stabilization. This is huge. Setting up automatic transfers for emergency savings and getting autopay turned on for your minimums. Set it and forget it. Finally, week 4 is building, reviewing what worked over the month and locking it in. The best part? This entire process requires only about an hour a week. Let's ground this in reality with a case study, Robert's Reset. I want to apply this entire framework to a real-world scenario so you can see the mechanics in action. Meet Robert. He's a 53-year-old commercial HVAC worker pulling in about $84,000 a year. Let's see exactly how this played out for him. The transformation here in just 30 days is honestly pretty incredible. Robert assumed he had $2,000 of flex money every month, but his snapshot, it proved he actually only had $930. He then used the money flow audit and uncovered $544 in leaks. We're talking forgotten subscriptions, too many convenience meals, little impulse buys. By making very precise cuts, not depriving himself entirely, he slashed $208 off that waste. He went from $0 in emergency savings to $500 in the bank in a single month. But honestly, the most incredible metric of all, he completely eliminated his background financial anxiety. Looking at his banking app actually stopped triggering that stomach drop. Visibility alone was enough to give him peace. Part 6. Preparing for future traps. Protected your long term. Once your 30-day reset creates that much-needed immediate breathing room, the final phase shifts from just surviving today to having a real long-term vision. It's all about recognizing patterns to protect your future self. True financial literacy is essentially pattern recognition. And the truth is, different decades come with entirely different invisible traps. In your 30s, housing decisions can become this incredibly heavy anchor on your overall trajectory. In your 40s, a bubble of lifestyle inflation slowly becomes a floor, a standard of living you feel you can literally never drop below. And in your 50s, the hourglass is really running out, and every single year of delayed retirement contributions costs you exponentially more. Seeing these distinct generational traps coming from a mile away, that's what prevents someone else's pressure from shaping your life. So, we've covered the snapshot, the audit, the priority reset, and the action plan. The math simply doesn't lie. And here is the ultimate reality we all have to face. The next 30 days are already happening, whether you act on this information or you just close this explainer and go about your day. The only question you have to answer right now is this: will your next 30 days look exactly like your last 30, or are you finally ready to change the math? The framework is yours. Go execute.